Today, we're going to play with context with a K. It's a new model, different type of model than your, standard, typical run-of-the-mill text-to-image generator. Now, you can use it to generate images the old-fashioned way, typing in a prompt, but they're not better than other models that you would use. With context, though, it has a special feature. It has a special capability. And what that capability is understanding contextual relationships. Today, we're going to go through and use this using the APIs, primarily because those are available today in the hosted product and they work really well. But I will note that there is already active support for this in a branch on the open source community edition for the dev version, which is kind of like the distilled little brother of these larger API-based models. For today, we're going to try to cover some of the basics of using the context model, how you prompt it, how you, including the reference image, how you give it the right context with a C to get the context model with a K to work the way you want it to. We're going to talk through that today. This guy is, like a space scoundrel, kind of the scoundrelly type, black and white render. And we want to see this in we want to see it stylized. We want to see it textured. So what we're going to do is I'm going to drop this in as a global reference image. So we've got this in our global reference. Let's just start with a basic prompt and see how it works. So I think this is like a good example of you do have to really still provide it the right information in order to get what you want. But once we start providing that, it starts working pretty well. Okay, so it kind of turned everything into leather. But I'm not entirely pleased with this. So we're gonna try to get it to do some stuff. Now, what I could do is I could take this and make this the new reference image and delete the old one and kind of like cycle through. One thing that I'll note now, just as like a best practice, you don't want to pass the same image over and over and over again through context if you're just making slight edits, primarily because you'll start to get artifacts. Somebody asked, does context prefer natural language or comma delimited token groupings? So most models post Stable Diffusion XL era are going to be natural language. I will frame this as there's two ways that you can look at this. One is instructive or interpretive, which is I'm telling you what to do and I want you to interpret what I want you to do. The second is going to be long form natural language. You're describing this in some way. I will say that this is not fully interpretive, but it is instructive. We're telling it to do style this or transform this or replace this, but it doesn't have the depth of understanding as a large language model. It's not the same as like a ChatGPT 4.0. It's more like it's trained to understand what style this means, almost as if you were training a model on a new trigger word. And so you're going to have to kind of like understand all of the different, action words you can use, style this, replace this. But beyond that, it will largely be natural language. You will describe things with like a, full sentence. All right, so this guy's cool, and he's got his jeans, he's got his leather, his shirt's like a white t-shirt now. We're good. This has been like stylized like an Unreal Engine type rendering, right? It's like a 3D model, which is reasonable. Now, one thing that's a little bit quirky when you're using the canvas is passing in this image as a reference image and then deleting it out. It's not too bad. It's just something that you have to think about. Context wants a reference image. It doesn't do image to image. So that's a little bit of like a different mechanic there when you're trying to replace it. This will change a little bit with 6.0 because we'll have a new tab, and reference images are going to be like dedicated in the left-hand tab, and you'll be able to pass it in a little bit more easily. You're going to pull the bounding box into the reference image here. So we're kind of taking this image and passing it back in as a reference image. That's the button right there on the top right. And then we're going to delete the raster layer out because we want to generate that image back into this spot. I deleted I deleted this guy. How can I get this guy back? There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. Control Z. That's what I do. I'm going to convert this raster layer. Actually, no, I'm going to take a new from bounding box, new global reference image. And then I'm going to turn this off instead of deleting it, and we'll try rendering that way. Now we queued it. Okay. We're good. We're good. All right, we're putting this character in a space outpost with a desert theme and vibe. Oh, yeah, look at that guy. He's starting to get a little, like, meatier, you know, with every transformation. It does solve some of the, like, more... I don't know if we compare these two here. It solves a little bit of the, like, it doesn't look real type. You know, it's kind of putting him in a scene. Made him a little bit more squat than I'd want, but I think part of that is, again, because it wants to, like, it wants to compose the character well. And so it's kind of taking it and fitting it in. There's like a little bit of stuff that's changing. If we did it another time, we might get something a little bit closer. But I do think for the most part, it's like, it's there. But it's a good representation of like what you can expect. So now that we've got this guy, we're going to do our new reference image here. And we're going to change some more stuff on this. Turn those off. Where's my list of things that I'm supposed to do? What do we got? Okay, we got base scene. Now we're going to add an object. We're going to... Somebody asked, would Max do better than Pro? I am sure, given that you're going to pay more money for Max, that it's going to be a little bit better. But we're going to try it. We're going to see what we get when we say replace the leather jacket and t-shirt with space armor. Replace the whole thing with space armor. So you can start to see some of the limitations. It's going to be good, but maybe not perfect. Now let's do something here, because I think this is, yeah, roughly the same background, right? But he's gotten a little bit more squat. And yeah, he's gotten a lot more squat. I mean, in some sense, you would get, maybe this is the right thing, because like his body below this, maybe it would match the size of this armor, because the armor is what's making him bulky. But it definitely looks a little funky. His arms are now crossed. Continues to get a little bit. It feels like he's getting chunkier by the moment. This kind of goes back to like what I was talking about. Like repeated loops through the system might be challenging. The next one on our list is a character turnaround. I don't know if I want to see the backside of this character. Yes, somebody just said, let's start with a fresh character. Okay, we're going to do a fresh character. Goodbye, squat space scoundrel. We hardly knew ye. Oh my goodness. Somebody style transferred a screenshot of me. Pretty good, huh? Look at that. It's even got my goose poster in the background, although it's kind of distorted that. Good microphone. Got some books in the background. You can really see like more things that you wouldn't otherwise pay attention to. A mycelial tyrant. Wow, super cool, right? So we got this like mycelial tyrant from Imogen 4. Gave us like a really cool character. But now we need to like do some edits to this guy, right? And this will actually be a good test. I'm curious to see what we get out of this. So we're going to copy this guy to the global reference image and hide that. We do need to get back to Flux Kontext Pro. Hey, how about that, huh? So we've got our line art representation of our character. A lot of people reacting very positively to this one. Superb, right? So this is pretty cool. And I think this does get at like, it may not be perfect, and nothing in this space ever is. Like, okay, so we're gonna take this line art and we're going to delete that reference image and do another one. We're going to use that as the front image. We're going to say create a back view of this character. We're just going to say that. And honestly, like really good job, right? If we take back this old raster layer, kind of made our character sheet a little bit already, right? So it's got the front, it's got the back, tail out, tail out. It's got like a little bit of a curve in his tail that has been honored and respected by the context model. Let's see what happens with a side view. Create a side view of this character. See, this is not super side view. Let's see what this looks like compared to the front view. Oh yeah, side profile of this character. Okay. Now we're just like, we really are creating a character sheet here. We're just creating all the parts and pieces. Somebody said, could it make sprite animations? I would have to assume so, especially if you were doing some like upsampling and downsampling on the output image to get it like pixel perfect. I think you'll find it to be very, very good. Okay, so it really wants to do a lot of I'm standing still, but turn my head a little bit. It's giving us multiple turns of the head, which is funny. And then we'll do our back view and put that over here. And look at that. We got like a little character turnaround. Side view's a toughie. Somebody said, I haven't found profile views to work. I'm going to bet money that it's a prompt issue. It's just figuring out how to get the side view to actually be registered. Like, it may not understand what a side view is. Let's do something specific here. I'm just going to move this down because we can leave those there. I'm going to turn this on a really wide image, and I'm going to say create a character turnaround sheet of this character. And we're going to see if it can just do the whole sheet in one go. See, even in the character turnaround, though, it kind of wants to make him a little bit more like he's frontal facing. But it did just do it in one go. So, we'll give it a pass. It's not perfect, but it is still pretty magical. Okay, what if we give it another reference image and tell it to mimic that? There is a limitation here. I can't add another reference image to context. Context only takes one image, takes one image input. That doesn't mean you can't get that like concept of jamming two images together done. It's not that you can't do it. You have to stitch the two images as one and pass them in, and then pray that it understands how you want those two to be integrated. Let's do a new background for this character, and then we'll say make this character in this background. So I'm going to bring out our character here, and then I'm going to generate a new background using Imogen 4. and we're going to do a fancy gaming art environment. Empty forest. Okay. It's not the best magical, most beautiful forest in the world, but it's an empty forest. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to SDXL just so that I can get a little bit of a flexible bounding box here. I'm going to take in both of these as my reference image. Okay. And I'm going to go back to Flux Kontext Pro and keep our 1-to-1. And I'm going to say, put this character in this scene. We're going to see if it just like restyles either of them. I have to imagine it'll style one of them. I don't know if it's going to turn the forest to line art or if it's going to turn the character to real. I'm kind of hoping for the latter. Do we think that that was a successful? Somebody said, close, close. It's a hard X. This is neither of what we asked for. Okay, we're gonna try to. It's magic. Oh. Okay, does anyone want to know what Kent did that makes this a Kent problem, not a model problem? I know. No, it's not image to image. I turned off my reference image layer. I'm doing text to image right now. Okay. My bad. It starts to explain why place this character in this scene just gave us a random picture. That's called a user error problem. Exists between keyboard and share. We've got our character in a somewhat blend, I would say a blend of the two. The character's at a forest. It's a little bit more realistic looking, a little bit more 3D looking. I have to show that, but I've got to just share what the audience is doing with this because it's just super funny. We got another edit. It's all over for me. Oh, come on, y'all. This is too funny. That is amazing. I think this is the most reactions I've ever seen in the chat to an image. Huge shout out to Skunkworks for that. Someone said they're still laughing. Well, you know what? Me too. I'm having a hard time keeping it together. Composure is difficult right now. That panda is like really something else. Nice. All right, let's take this lady, pop this down here. We'll give ourselves a new reference image. Boom. Flux Kontext Pro. And we're going to go back to older prompts with the sweater. Yep. Okay. So you see, it's having a hard time. Sweater on the left. Let's see, a woman on the right. Clothes of the woman on the right with the sweater on the left. And I'm just going to try virtual try on. Let's see if like throwing that in there like triggers something. Maybe it's like a task that it knows. There we go. Look at that. How about that? We finally got it. Prompting matters with this model. Like if it's gonna hit, it's gonna hit. If it misses hard. I'd say nailed it almost completely. Yeah, like I'm looking at this. Let's see. Bottom is orange. Bottom's orange, but maybe she's got it tucked in. How many stripes are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a little bit of extra yellow right there. A little bit of yellow that's not in the sweater made it through, but everything else is pretty good. We got good arms. Let's see the face. Face, look at the face on this one. This one is really good. Look at that. Now, look at that. All right. That's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Kontext is out now on the hosted product. You got Pro and Max. I believe Pro's 50 credits, Max 80 credits. Dev coming soon. Keep an eye out on the version 6 channel on the Discord for Community Edition users who want to test out Kontext Dev as soon as they can. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.